Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, from Spain, from the Spanish National Distance Education University, from UNED. I'm Ángeles Sanchez-Elvira Paniagua. I'm the director of the UNESCO Chair in Distance Education at my university, and also, the lead of this work package regarding the first training sessions, and also Sanadze from the TSU is going to join us this afternoon because she's the co-lead. The university is the co-lead in this seminar. So thank you also, Russo, for being with us and for participating because I asked her, please, I would like to have you here. And so both of us are going to present this first session, the opening session of this online seminar.
Yeah, thank you for having me because it's like a great pleasure and hope to have a more interaction from my Georgian colleagues because the topic which we're going to touch today, at least at surface, is covering all our needs and requirements, I think, and that would be also the area for food for thought and how we could improve in this direction. So hopefully that would be more interactive and like a kind of dialogue between the colleagues.
Well, that's my intention. First, an overview and time also for dialogue, and also to introduce how we are going to be working because you are going to find a lot of resources. So I'm going to start by sharing the presentation. You can also, if it is needed, you can raise or stop me anytime that you want during the presentation. And let's see now. I think you can see the presentation, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the only thing is I cannot see myself, but I first let's see the it moves because really I couldn't make a proof before. So yeah, that's our topic of this seminar: understanding and promoting inclusion in higher education, but through digital education, which is I think a very relevant topic, and I'm going to try to get involved in this excitement that we always have when we talk that digital education can help higher education to be more inclusive. So, do you see the next slide?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So I don't see myself, but anyway, if you see the slides, it's okay. So let's have first a very brief overview of this topic in general. So why inclusion in higher education is relevant and why digital education under this lifelong perspective we are going to approach in the seminar is relevant for this main goal. And this motto of UNESCO, no one left behind, which is the main idea. It is linked to this leave no one behind regarding this UNESCO objective of equality and non-discrimination at the heart of education and of sustainable development. Of course, this is the framework of United Nations, and we have to just to give first this big umbrella to in the end coming to the point of higher education. So we are now, we are searching for global solutions. We do have a lot of challenges and things that even many years ago in 2015, we started to discuss the United Nations framework of these Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030, thinking that we were in an era of global uncertainty, and that's for sure. We are very complex and with a lot of vulnerabilities and quick changes and even more and more. But at that time, we knew about the Agenda 2030 and about these 17 global problems and facing these challenges during the next decades that we had to start working on, and that we needed a roadmap at the time. So that roadmap was established, as I say, in 2015, 10 years, no, after 10 years before. Sorry for the mistake. 10 years before now. So we've been hearing and listening about the Sustainable Development Goals, these 17 goals. But let's have a look at this 4 one, the quality education, because really it's a very relevant one because it is transversal to everyone. I mean, without education, we cannot get the other goals because people will not be prepared for them. So you already know these four sustainable development goal, quality education. But this idea of ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education under these lifelong learning opportunities for everyone. So you see here that it captures what we want to share with you from the perspective of a distance and online university. This goes, again, it's something very related to what we are going to work on the PRODIGE project, quality education for everyone, for all, lifelong learning, and this flexible learning for a knowledge society that implies the digitalization because we live in a digital society. So after many years, after this 2015, in 2021, UNESCO asked us to reimagining education under a new social contract because we needed new things, new approaches, new perspectives on education, and this transformational potential it has for sustainable futures. So working for these sustainable futures. So it's good to know all this background because it will support the things that we're going to talk and to work on. So under this idea, they say that by 2030, higher education, tertiary education, including university, should ensure equal access for all women and men to this affordable and quality technical and vocational education. So this is just 5 years ahead, so we are almost there. And the thing is that we are going to have 262 million of higher education students this year. That was the expectation some years ago. So it's a huge increase if we think about how higher education was in the past century and in the first 25 years of this century. So it has increased a lot and even more. By 2030, we are expecting 380 million of higher education students in the world. And think about that because the thing is how I mean traditional and on-site universities uh, can cope with these millions of students being able to access to higher education. So data of the European Commission around, well, the percentage of access to higher education in 2023, they say that more than 40 of persons between 25 and 34 years old in the in Europe had completed tertiary education. So it's been a growth. You can see here also there is a continuously and gradual increase in the former years, but of course a dramatic increase compared to the previous, to the past century and the first decades of the century. But of course, there are many country differences between. Well, I mean, regarding this 40%, I mean, this is a mean. That's a mean between the different countries. And pay attention also to this data. These are on population aged between 25 and 34 years old. Of course, this is more or less the age in which traditional students, young people, finish their studies. So how are you doing in Georgia? Well, quite well. I mean, the students' admission in 2024 has increased compared to the previous year in 8.4%. That means an increase that is, I mean, very interesting because in general, in the European higher education area, based on this data for 43 countries in these past years, there is only like 2% more or less of increase. So we have done well in this last period. And I found some good news about that, saying that Georgia is quickly becoming a hub for higher education in the region and beyond, and it's well positioned to for this growth based on increased domestic and foreign demand. Females, of course, such as in that's a common data that female are over men in higher education, which is different is if we talk about STEAM studies or then the higher level of positions at the university and so on. But the truth is that women are accessing in higher numbers to university, and also in the percentage of women being graduated. So I think this is a good news. I found also information that Georgia boasts this high participation rate, and this is surpassing many other OECD countries. So well done. So the thing then is when we come to inclusion, to the idea of inclusion, and to what the European Commission says about the European strategy for universities, you have the QR for then you are going to have the presentation, of course, and the document to go to this document you are interested in. And coming to the point and to the topic of this seminar is about inclusion and diversity and gender equality. In this very recent document about the European strategy for universities, it has been said that diversity, inclusiveness, gender equality, and see here in higher education is becoming more and more important, more than ever. And it's also said because of the statistics that we have, is that despite its increase in access to higher education, the system remain highly stratified, and there are many people that cannot get access to higher education because of course, we all know socioeconomic factors. These are the factors that always have been a problem for accessing any level of education and create disadvantages. And also identity factors, such as people in minority groups, gender, immigrants, refugees, disabled. So these characteristics create really strong barriers for getting access to higher education. And mature students, adult students, you can see here that they are always in inclusion policies and even more for lifelong learning programs. So this take this in mind to think when we are going to talk about distance and digital education and online education, giving a response, an answer to these barriers. So taking all that into account, can we increase the this percentage of access to higher education in our countries? We, in Georgia, for instance, can you break current barriers? Well, let's come now to the second point after having said that inclusion and diversity in higher education should be promoted. That to this idea, the digital education is for inclusion and it opens doors to get access to higher education and to higher levels, for instance, of any kind of program along people's life. So let's see an overview of opportunities and benefits that you are going also to find in the during the seminar in the materials and the resources. So again, with this idea of the European strategy for universities, it's also said, remember this of inclusion, but also the development of competences for the digital environments and the digital transition is something really relevant, and that universities is the place, or it's a very important place in which students and the academic staff and the administrative staff can be prepared for this digital transition. And in promoting innovation and in the use of new technologies for teaching and learning, and also then for the professional development. So in this sense, in this document, it is said that this future should be based on hybrid solutions. I mean, this good balance between physical presence and distance online approaches. Let's come again to the Education 2030 and to the idea in 2015 that the UNESCO set for the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal number 4. They said at the time, tertiary education, higher education, supported by technology and open educational resources with more distance education modalities. That was in 2015. So at the time, of course, all these international organisms were saying we have to move all the universities towards the digital transformation because we will need it. Um, and long before the 2015 distance education, long before this 2030 also agenda, diversity, inclusion was the main topic, the main objective, the main mission of distance education, linked to continuous innovation. Why? Because distance education, in my case, our university, it started in 1972. No internet, no connections, no digital things. But of course, we had to be innovative in breaking the distance with between the students and the teacher. And that has been always been with technologies, the technologies of the time. Since the beginning of the century, we incorporated internet and online solutions for that. But always our distance education mission has been diversity and inclusion and opening access to much more people to higher education. So I'm not going through all of these points, but of course these are our objectives, and is this idea of giving always an opportunity to everyone at any stage of his or her life for accessing the university, accessing to higher levels of education. And that means democratize education. And of course, in each country, we give support in this way to the economic growth and the sustainable development of professionals along their lives. And as I said, coming to the idea of innovation, distance education always has been a disruptive modality. For this reason I have just mentioned, because we have been trying always to find out the way to reach our students in the better way, to tutoring them, to mentoring them, to give them better materials and online resources now, to get communication, interaction, to have the opportunity for collaborative learning, all these things from our perspective, from the perspective of distance education. So not just to consider that distance education is some student alone with some books. No, so we have to create all this enriched environment. And so in 2015, UNESCO and the United Nations and all the organisms were saying, well, we have to move towards the digitalization of education. We live in a digital world. But, well, things were not moving very fast. And COVID was there suddenly, and the great accelerator of digital education, as it has been said, was the COVID. Because COVID put everyone in this position of how we are going to manage to keep our lives moving on. So United Nations said that COVID-19 was the biggest disruptor ever in education and in other areas. But in education, it was the greatest disruptor. So we have lived really a very historical period of time in our lives. I don't know if this will work. I hope so. Can you see the QR to answer this question?
Yes, we can see it. The QR
Yeah,
code.
so please, we are going to give some seconds. It's just one very simple question just to see what was your previous experience with online learning before the pandemic? And then you have this just to answer and to join with this this number to get access. Can you access?
Um, Personal, I can answer from my experience. I was not frequently teaching online before COVID-19. It was like a very rare experience. I had also some experience teaching in online environment, but not much. But after COVID, it was like many times it was exaggerated. My experience was more widened and more advanced. Now I have experience really I have after this period of time. And since then, I'm frequently teaching online. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I see that answers are arriving. If someone else wants also to just to express their opinion, not just in the Slido, welcome. Because really, when COVID came, in our case in UNED, of course, all our programs are online. So we continue moving such as normally. However, we had to do some transitions as our on-site, final on-site exams. But this is something we can tell when you come to Madrid. So someone else wants to intervene? I cannot see the chat.
Yes, I will answer. Thank you for opportunity. I just can mention that's not teaching but mentoring. So specifically when you have international students, there was a quite big volume of mentoring online. But probably prior to COVID, it was quite limited. Thank you.
Thank you. So just, well, we have 14 answers. We are going to see, yeah, you see that none is 50% of the answers. It might be that this is something in general that's what traditional on-site universities had to cope with. To this dramatic, unexpected transition in just 1-2 weeks towards something they didn't know before. So,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, absolutely. It was really, really dramatic increase of this experience.
Yeah, I can guess. In our case, the Ministry of Universities in my country asked UNED and the WOC, that is all another distance education, online education university in our country, to prepare a web page with all the resources for the students and for the academic staff of traditional universities to try to get all this in a short period of time, just trying to manage with this chaotic situation. So, thank you. We will continue, and that's the thing. So, we always thought that online education and distance education, well, could be something, not in the central area of the educational system in general. Although, let me say that my university is the largest university in the country. We have in total around 200,000 students, much more students than any other on-site traditional university. But however, distance education has been considered something like outside the system. But since the COVID, well, it became like a central issue, and it's not just only online education. It's the use of digital tools to enrich also on-site environments. So there's been a change in mind, and we have to think that maybe pandemics can come again, and we know that wars and many other things that may happen in the future. So this experience of being connected, and not only for education, only for that, no. Think about how families were connected, friends, and so on. So we need these digital capacities. So it was also said that people understood at the time that online learning during the pandemic was a way of improving equity and access. Just well, except that there is a problem with this. The problem is connectivity. The problem is to have enough money to have devices, and so this is other problem that the governments have to work on to keep connectivity in all the countries, and to get people have the possibility to get access to internet and to have devices. Sometimes now it's just for mobile phones, and mobile phones are everywhere. In Africa, for instance, they they are they are using mobiles for online learning. So a second question, just in this first presentation, is how did, how did you continue with your classes during lockdown? I mean, did you give synchronous classes via Zoom, for instance, using a web conference tool, as if you were in an on-site classroom? I mean, it was synchronous connection, continuing with your classes. It was via an online course with digital resources because your university had an online platform, or a mix of synchronous classes and online activities, or I mean, could you find some university or some group of classes that could not continue that during the lockdown?
Can I?
Yes, for sure.
May I be the first to give the answer? We were, yes, we continue our classes teaching mostly internet. Personally, I was teaching international students during the lockdown, and we used web conference. We used Google Meet, and also we used the Zoom meetings. It comes to the digital resources, I guess, yeah, or virtual learning platforms. So they come to the virtual learning platforms. Yes, we were continuing our teaching, and I don't understand what mix synchronous classes and online activities. So probably it was not used by me, as I don't understand what is meant here. Thank you.
That means, well, that means that you had some web conferences, such as this one, for instance, for a class, and then students were in a virtual platform, a learning virtual platform, working asynchronously.
So yes, it was also used by TSMU professors, and so it was. We were actively teaching our students. Yes, the answer is positive. Yes.
And did the university have this learning virtual platform? Did it have to quickly, get this environment because they didn't have it before? Or did you have already a learning management platform?
Yes, it was like centrally organized at Tbilisi State Medical University, and we had the IT support, internet, the people, specialists from the IT department, and we had our special platform, and it was like supported by our specialists of internet education. It was like quite supported. Yes, it was not like done by myself, and I invented something and I found something in the internet. I'm using that. It was not like that. It was organized. It was supported. Thank you.
Okay, so let's see what we find here. Yeah, so you have virtual learning platform. That's great. And yeah, and web conferences also 21%. The thing why this question? Well, the question was because when we had this dramatic situation, most of people, what it did in most institutions was to replicate traditional on-site classes, synchronous, to web conference, synchronous web conference classes. But this is something very different to what distance education is, because distance education is flexible. You have seen in the first seminar. We have incorporated, of course, more hybrid opportunities. There's been a huge development of technologies for synchronous activities, and that's very good for sure. but also I take into account that emerging remote teaching, that's the name that was during the pandemic, is not really distance education that needs to be prepared in advance with materials and so on. So these are all our possibilities now. You have, of course, known about them in the past and during the first seminar to enrich our learning environments on site or online. There are new ways of teaching and learning, and we have to promote this development of 21st skills and capacities for everyone. So yeah, again, UNESCO said that there are major transformations for higher education also. And in the past conference in 2020, they said, well, we have to establish a new roadmap for higher education. And that means the following. Lifelong learning systems. And this is one of the things we have to approach and that we are going to talk during the seminar. How? Well, they already said through micro-credentials, through MOOCs, massive open online courses, micro degrees, things we are going to talk about. Seamless education means that everyone will find continuous learning experiences, formal to non-formal, and so on. So people keep learning during all their lives. The great thing that the UNESCO has developed since 2002, open educational resources and open science and open education as a matter of inclusiveness. And this is thanks to, of course, digital resources. International mobility is changing. It's changing thanks to, and it has to change. And we are going to see how from an online and a distance education perspective, we can get these new ways of international mobility, a more holistic education, more inter and transdisciplinary. But of course, this is what UNESCO says in the end, in this new roadmap for higher education, increased presence of distance modalities and technologies, because it's the only way to reach the other five elements. I mean, to really enhance higher education and in lifelong learning, in seamless education, in open education, in internationalization, always has to be done now with digitalization. Okay, so this is a digital education action plan that we have now in the European Commission. And again, well, they say we have to be working for this high quality, inclusive, and accessible digital education. So this is something we have to work anyway. So how, from our perspective of open, distance, and digital education, how can we, or why digital education is a tool for that? It's a resource. Well, the first thing we had to have in mind is that distance education was conceived as an inclusive education without barriers, limits, or borders. So flexible, and that's the key. So first, barrier-free education, because we want to get non-traditional learners involved. Adults at any age, workers, people that work, people that have responsibilities at home, women, senior people. So everyone can get involved in distance education. And one of the things, for instance, in our own statistics is that traditional on-site universities in my country, for instance, students, the 82% are below 26 years old, such as in the statistics we saw at the beginning. So, I mean, the traditional university student is under 26 years old, just totally the opposite to distance education or to online education. I mean, our 80% is over 26 years old. Our mini is like 35 years old or something like that. So we have students, a great heterogeneity of students of with any characteristics that join a higher education program. Second point, more than 70% of distance education students are working. So they are working in any kind of work, and even around 30%, they already have a previous higher education degree, but still they want to keep on progressing. So we need to open the doors to all these people that cannot attend an on-site and physical traditional bachelor with young people. They need to be working, and at the same time, they need to be a student. What about remote places or small villages that they don't have universities around and people have to leave their homes? Well, distance education is for these people and people living in remote places that have connections, for instance. Now, because in the past, we always gave this opportunity for people with our books, television, radio, and so on. Now with internet. So you will see in the videos of this seminar that we have a network of local centers all around the country abroad, where students also can go and have some contact on site. But we are, we have students all around the country and outside. And we are working now on something that also the European Commission wants us to do. And it's this recovery and development of depopulated areas in our countries, because everyone migrated to the big cities. So why not trying to give this opportunity to people, in remote areas? Of course, people with cultural and linguistic diversity, indigenous communities in many countries, displaced populations, migrants. So all these people that we have in our countries and that they need to get access to higher education. Second thing, without limits. Distance education is for a personalized lifelong learning. That's other of the ideas we are going to work during the seminar. So there are many new ways of upskilling and reskilling along our lives. Agile designs, micro-learning, just-in-time learning. These kind of programs are very much connected with the society, with stakeholders, and many times are programs connected to business companies and other stakeholders in places where people are already working, but they need to be upskilled. I said before, open science as a way of breaking doors, opening doors, and UNESCO started in 2002 with open educational resources. Then the the OER Declaration of Paris in 2012, and the very recent revision in 2019. They are asking universities to develop these open educational resources to give them more inclusive education and developing materials and of quality for people in countries and undeveloped countries. You have already heard, of course, about the MOOC movement everywhere. In our case, it has an open platform also for MOOCs all around the world. This also has been thanks to technologies. But now we are working also in another point of view, and this idea of unbundling higher education. That means that we can disaggregate our courses to create new personalized ways, a personalized rebundling of lifelong learning, and that's the idea for micro credentials. So micro credentials are these new lifelong learning programs that support people in their upskilling and reskilling. And this is one of the European strategies, and also in Latin America and many other areas of the world that they are working with in higher education. The development of these micro courses that may lead to, to upskill and reskill a person, but also to develop a personalized way, choosing things and trainings that are really useful for them. Now we are going to work even more. We are all working with this idea of personalization thanks to technologies, thanks to adaptive learning and artificial intelligence for this more personalized education and this lifelong learning perspective. You will have some presentations about that during the seminar, because this is really a huge jump into the future, And we are now starting to see all the things that we will be able to do with artificial intelligence, and at the same time, which ethics and things like that should be to keep this under a control and under ethical values. So let's think also about some barriers for all that digital education have to overcome. And these are first that supporting our students and our teachers because they lack sometimes the competences for teaching and learning in digital environments. So that's one of the first things that every university has to take into account is to have units that take care of these, training the teachers with formal programs and supporting them in what they need. And this is something very important. Supporting the students with functional diversity. We give this this thing a huge importance in our university. We have a special unit. We will see also videos about that because we need to give disabled people of any kind the opportunity to get access to higher education. And this is something we work in our university and in many other universities that are at distance. We have to work on that. And in fact, we are the university with the highest number of people with functional diversities in my country. We have to be aware that in general, distance and online education requires high levels of self-regulated learning. So that means to be autonomous, to be mature students, and that means that we have to support our distant learners to not be in risk of dropout, because what is it is true is that because of all these reasons, people that are mature, that are working, that have personal responsibilities and so on, dropout rates are higher in distance education. But we know that. But it's still, the thing is we have to give them support, our students, to overcome all these difficulties, especially during the first year. No borders, the third point. So distance and digital education means to have no borders for education. So internationalization is a relevant topic right now that is promoted by digital education. You will find also some presentations and the ideas of virtual mobility we're working on, and that they are really innovative with different types of mobilities. And this is something to also take into account because we need to give people the opportunity to have these international experiences. And coming to the end, this all this requires that under a governmental and under an institutional perspective, policies and regulations have to be developed. So to be truly inclusive, we need to have this very well structured, and of course, we need to have regulations for all this. And this is something to also to be taken into account, because it's not just that one academic wants to be inclusive and does this or that issue. No, the thing is the whole institution has to go in this road. So here we go. That's the finish of this first part of the presentation, and I'm going to give the floor to Russo.
Yeah, first of all, Ángeles, thank you very much for a very interesting presentation and topics. I've been listening very carefully, and that's matched very much with the structure which I had in head. So what we're going to talk, and probably with help of my colleagues as well, we would have like very engagement conversation, and I would go topic by topic, like sharing probably my experience, and then also it would be nice to hear from our colleagues about their experience. So I would introduce myself once more, that I'm an associate professor at Tbilisi State University, Department of Educational Sciences, and currently leading the Department of Education. And I am the head of the program in vocational education and human resource development at master's level, which is also very much correlates to the idea which you are saying. And at the same time, I'm the European Commission subgroup member of CDU, which is responsible for the refugees recognition issues and also micro-credentials. So that's what the topics which you've been touching. This is very much active in our mind, and we are still working on it country-wise and global-wise. So as for the your data which you've been providing while researching the topics, and when we had a talk how to present our issues, I've been surprised, and probably colleagues would add more if I miss something. There are several sources in Georgia where you could find the official information. For instance, there is a Department of National Statistics which is publishing the data. There is Ministry of Education, under which we could find the data. For instance, MEC or NAEC is providing the statistical data. And unfortunately, we do not have, I've been researching it and also refer to colleagues, that unfortunately we do not have consolidated data about the special needs students. So the procedure is the following, that whoever needs a special treatment during a national examination, and we have this national examination which is led by the government, and they're passing the exams, and only during the examination procedure they will getting the extra treatment, for instance, the extra time or extra preparation of the tests, however the content is the same. Then this information is sent to the institutions, and the institutions themselves, they're tracking this data. So even if I would found the data, how many students are enrolling every year, and I researched the numbers, and they're not more than 55, and all years during the assignment, we could not found consolidated data from the institutions. The procedure is the following, that you need to refer to the institution and they would provide the information. However, this is also very much correlates to our legislation issues, that without, this is like data protection and safety issues, and you never know how many active students who has a special needs on particular department are currently in the institution. So this is, I think, this area needs to be improved definitely. And even I've been talking to colleagues from National Statistical Department as well, and they have updated data, also consolidated one, which is published on the website, but latest data is from 2021. That means that we have like a huge gap in this data, and young researchers who need to research on these topics, it's quite challenging to get the data, and then like raw data are hardly accessible, so to say, and you need to finalize which institution you are referring and what kind of data you are receiving. And then the issue is also the validity of the data, because you have absolutely no, how to say, the double check mechanism, because consolidated data are only in one institution. That's the picture reality, which I think from my perspective needs to be improved. As for the historical approach, and I'm really proud that I've been the part of the project, because I've been searching in the internet and this data does not exist anymore. In 2021, under the Tbilisi State University, and then currently University of our host university, Caucasus State University, Caucasus University is was at the same time located at the TSU. They had the joint project for distance learning, and they've been developing together with Czech colleagues the platform, which has unfortunately very low life cycle. I've been a member of this project, and that's why I know the information, that mainly these ethical issues and cheating issues could not be controlled. So I'm talking about like 24 years ago, the project, which was like initiative from these two institutions, and then the project was closed down, unfortunately. So what I'm saying, that initiatives and incentives were provided from the different institutions at that time even. You've been talking about increasing the numbers of the students, enrollment students, which is quite positive on one hand. But on another hand, we have like two main directions on legislation level, that our government is supporting very much vocational education and training. So that means that fifth grade or fifth level of the education needs to be supported from government very much. However, the vocational education is not popular in Georgia, and there is a particular reason behind it. One is like our history from the Soviet time, and another very important part, I would say, this is infrastructural part, which cannot like compensate the issue. So we are improving. Currently, like last year's, our vocational education institutions have been improved a lot, and even state universities promoted the vocational education centers or courses to promote also lifelong learning and adult education. However, this area needs to be improved. And while talking about this direction, we also need to take into account the formal and non-formal paths, because lifelong learning without formal paths, this is like somehow linked very much to the motivation of adults. However, the formal paths and credits recognition would be also very interesting. Right now, I would be taking the head of the CDU working group members and would quote the meeting minutes of the latest meeting that starting from Bologna process, there are lots of talk about the credit recognition and also micro-credentials. However, this topic is continuously like continuing, and there are also reasons behind it, because we never know that while combining and accumulating these micro-credentials, what kind of grade or what kind of specialization should we allocate to these credentials. However, this issue needs to be solved somehow, and right now, as far as I know, and I'm also a member of this group, they are like a huge improvement. So in coming years, I do believe that we will have some kind of solutions, or at least workarounds at legislation level. As for the digitalization thing, which is also very important during COVID and after COVID period, and here I need my colleagues' support, that everybody would agree that we literally jumped to the COVID online learning, and that was not the digital learning or online learning, because we just transfer our knowledge to Zoom and nothing else. We did not adapt teaching methods. We have not adapted the materials, and we've been doing this constantly during these 2 years while lockdown. And that was also very strange. And we never talked and never touched the points about the well-beings of the stakeholders, about the well-beings of the staff and well-beings of the participants. After COVID, our colleagues and group of researchers, together with British colleagues, we conducted research about the burnout of the staff. And nobody took care of them, because we teachers, and like everybody applauds to doctors and everybody applauds to the scientists, who developed the vaccine, absolutely, but nobody like slightly mentioned, so to say, the teacher's role at all levels, because we've been teaching not only the particular stakeholders or particular student, but also their families, and we've been like ventilating their emotions as well, but nobody take care about the teachers themselves. So we based on our research, and the research is already published, if there's some interest, we could share the information, that we had a huge number of burnouts. However, some of the teachers found the distance learning very interesting, and they've been like, this online learning, they've been like teaching from elsewhere, but had time. There'll be like a pros and cons. They had more free time. However, the working hours during a COVID increased that much that we faced, as a matter of fact, that we had a huge burnouts, and nobody took care of the teachers. And after that, after COVID pandemic, our government also took into consideration this approach and this knowledge, which would be consolidated, and made particular changes in the law. So this law has been changed in 2024. I don't remember exact dates and number of the law. However, starting from 2026, it would be possible to teach online. That means that mixed approach, or even purely online learning and in informal education would be possible at high education level. So this approach, I would say that it's our how to say, consolidated work results, which based on our feedback, our government took into consideration. And that was according to the law, but we still need to think about the teaching methods and also the increasing the awareness of different stakeholders and increasing the qualification of the teachers. Because as a matter of fact, we might train teachers, but we won't have ability to teach online because infrastructure of our institutions, especially at state universities, are not very, how to say, very flexible, and we could not afford to teach or to conduct the mixed approach, like conducting the online teaching during from classroom. Currently, based on our law, what is possible, that we could use approach methods or mixed methods if teachers is on in the classroom and part of the staff or students are in the class and part of them are online. And this is literally not possible because we do not have enough equipment and proper equipment and even proper internet connections. I'm not talking like only from regional perspective. I'm talking about the central area perspectives as well, because this is quite challenging. And even if we are doing our best, still we need lots of improvement from technical perspective, from support perspective, and also from teaching and learning methods improvement perspective. As for the AI, and you've been talking about the European Council approach, there is also another very important document which calls Education Strategy Council of Europe 2024-2030. I have a brochure here and I could share this online as well. That 2025 is announced as a digital year. So all kind of approaches we need to take here on this, and also use the ethical and transparent tools in order to conduct our teaching and learning process as well as research process very ethically, openly, and gain from different perspectives. So I think I did not miss anything. But I also would like to hear from my colleagues' perspective, because I've been talking from TSU perspective and also based on our research, where we had 10 different universities who've been sharing, from educational departments staff, they've been sharing the information, but maybe our colleagues could or have a different perspective, and I would love to hear from them as well.
Thank you very much, Bruce. I think it's very interesting to have this perspective. And in the end, what it means is that there is a need of an institutional strategy. It's Absolutely. Not something not to say that one teacher is interested in and he or she likes technologies and does these. No, it's it's a holistic institutional strategy, and this is what in the end works.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also we are very good in strategy writing. We have a problem in implementation part. And we also even better in rewriting the strategies. So we're writing strategies, then rewriting them, and nobody takes care of the implementation part of the continuation of the strategy itself. Yeah. Yes, Elena, please.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to maybe add just a bits of info, but also I have some questions just to inform ourselves in terms of seeing the scenarios of how digitization or the online or distance learning can work here. I still struggle with the fact that we do say that the legal framework in Georgia at the higher education level permits and allows the flexibility. I guess we have to say that online or distance learning has become possible, but it's still, the legislation is very rigid. It's almost I don't understand how this can work. And Russo, you mentioned that yes, it is. It says that the possibility of online or distance learning is possible. However, it also states that the parts of the courses, even within the program, it's regulated that within the program, the assessments have to be done online. Not online, but offline and in person. And this disrupts or even, I don't know, kills the idea of the distance learning. So I don't know what was the thinking behind of organizing or allowing the frameworks for online and distance learning, but then not also kind of putting this forward that all of the assessments, whether it will be, I don't know, mass exams or whatnot, has to be organized in person, and how to go around it. So this is one. Then, my question would be, with the experience that you have shared, and sorry if I don't pronounce the name properly, Ángeles? How much of the institutional or holistic institutional decision of moving towards the distance learning, having the policy, right? How much of this is actually dependent on the national framework? Or in your experience, how much of the agency at the institutional level pushed forward the legal framework at the national level? Because the dynamics is different kind of here. We do understand and think that the national level is the agent, has the agency, and then the universities have to carry on with the policy, and we would be involved in policy shaping, but the initiator is always the state and not the other way around. So is there a different kind of dynamic that has pushed forward the agenda?
Well, I think this is very interesting because there are, let's see, you can find many different types of distance education universities or purely online in the world right now. But in our case, in the 1970s, something like that, the main traditional distance education universities in Europe and in the world were born. So we were born just being distance education universities. And in our case, because this is a national and public university, because the government wanted a distance education university at the time. So I guess we had this, I mean, it was easier because we were born like that. We were distance education, nothing else since the beginning. And many other institutions, for instance, in Latin America, that we have a lot of great contact with them, there are on-site universities that are start to develop online branches, for instance, not a combination, no? So some students are continuing their studies on site, some others get online. But always it refers to, I think, to be approved and to have legislation at the national level to be recognized. Because if not, I mean, if you are not recognized in the country, what's the point? So in our case, we are distance education. We are recognized as that, but we go through the same accreditation, external accreditation, quality external, which is something really also important. So, I mean, there is like a work that the government should legislate and approve that distance education, formal one, is okay. And also quality standards, just as this project is, I think, is thought about. Quality standards need to be developed and indicators and criteria and so on for a quality distance education. But then there are like different types of modalities you can combine. So this is something that I think the institution needs to think about, which is the best way of developing this digital framework. And inside also you need internal assurance of the quality of your program. So you need to have inside units that take care, for instance, that the materials are okay, that the teachers are trained, that technology is okay. So it's like two different levels, the national quality assurance and the internal one, and all has to be developed, just for sure. Because the thing, and this is something, at least in my country, the public, we are the only public distance education. Then there is the WOC, there is a more modern one. It was just online since the beginning, but we are well recognized. I mean, our degrees are considered of good quality, and this is something that takes time, I think, and work to prove that this is like that. That then the people that goes out get professional contracts and things in. I mean, they are recognized. So it takes time. Another thing that maybe it will sound strange to you. Remember, we were born in 1972, no technologies. Well, television, radio, books, and still we have handbooks and all these things. And we were born, and you will see in the videos that we were born with the headquarters in Madrid, and in which the faculties are and the academic staff is. But then we have these local centers all around, network of local centers where students can go there and get on-site tutoring if they want to, on a voluntary basis. And then many other cultural events take place there. But since the beginning, and it still is like that, final exams are on-site there. So this is because this is our extractor. So our students go to the next local center, the nearest one, and they take on-site exams in the end. But the rest of the course is fully online. I mean, the continuous assessment tasks, online assessments. So all these things are online, but they go to the local center to take their final exams. So that's maybe because we were born like that. There are other institutions that are online. They don't have local centers where people can go. So the thing there is to develop, and this is something that we are always discussing, a quality online assessment. I mean, a truthful, something that is really, that shows the evidence that the students has reached the learning outcomes and so on. And this is something we had to work on. And this is a little bit more difficult now with generative AI. So now we are entering, I would say, like a new era, that's for sure, in which we are discussing what competences we need to train our teachers, our staff, what are the new AI supported things that we can admit or not. And what it is for sure is that we are going to be living with a copilot. So we have now a quite challenging time, and well, let's see what happens. But this is a discussion. But the thing is, in the end, that we need a formalization coming from the governments, really. A good attention by the quality agencies, distance and digital education for being quality enough, and a good inside a strategy, institutional strategy with quality assurance, inner quality assurance also. So everything in every level is, I mean, is considered. And then you can, I mean, feel free to imagine how your university should approach that.
Thank you.
In combination, on-site, online, hybrid, you can reinvent your.
I think one of the things that we kind of usually gloss over, or maybe it's me and the colleagues around me and peers, because I am coming from social sciences, is how much effort or how much of a different kind of effort needs to be put in online, putting the education, medical education, or STEM, or engineering into the distance learning, turning it into the distance learning, because every time we talk about it, at least the trainings or the talks that I have been part of, it's mainly still within the parameters of whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, but it's still more about the modality of how the information or the knowledge is exchanged and how the curriculum has been adopted. And we talk about the learning materials, but the labs or the practice, how all of these things are translated into the digital world, it's still a Pandora's box to me. And I don't think we have discussed it enough in the Georgian context. So is this going to be a disadvantage for those disciplines while we are talking about the digital education or digitization within the education in social sciences, which is more of an advantage? And how much can the country or the university do within the Georgian context, which is scarce on resources in higher education? So are we talking, if we do not have enough resources, is online learning a advantage or a disadvantage, an opportunity, or rather the curse, so to speak? We have to follow the trend, but we cannot because we don't have enough resources, time-wise, competency-wise, and money-wise.
Yeah, yes, very briefly, and then Russo, well, when you come to Madrid, if you come to Madrid, we will show you things, how we work with that. We have 2 engineering schools. Of course, they have labs, physical labs at the faculty. So sometimes people in other country do come here. So, you know, this is a mixture to do some practical, some practices on site. But we do have innovation teams and researchers that they have developed, and they work on remote and virtual laboratories. So this is something we need to think about. And even more when we talk about medicine, for instance, we know that with artificial intelligence and so on, in the end, there will be enriched learning scenarios in which you do not have a course, for instance, to open, but something that is virtual to work with under a sure and safe, such as the pilots of airplanes learn to drive a plane. So we need to have this combination of possibilities, and of course to invest in resources and to have researchers and develop this kind of remote and virtual laboratories that may have this, may reduce the risk of a lower level of training. And also we have some programs such as a master in sanitary psychology and psychologists, and the students there, in the end, they do have to go to real sanitary centers for some hours of internship. So we can have also this combination. Why not? Russo, please.
Yes, what I wanted to add, Elena was touching very interesting point regarding the disciplinary approach. But if we look at the non-formal education and to look at the dropouts from per discipline, I would say that STEM subjects, especially in IT, they are in a top, because we are facing the problem that, not problem, but that big like corporation, they are offering the non-formal courses, certification courses, purely online, and then nobody's finalizing their studies at bachelor's level. Not nobody, but we have like a huge rate of dropouts. It's not only in Georgia, it's all over the globe that we are facing this like higher education problematics in IT field at least, and STEM subjects are also in the group. But also I'm sharing your concerns. I can't imagine if you have a doctor who needs to make a surgery and he or she was studying online. I don't know how to imagine this, and then said, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know how to act in this or that case. That needs to be mixed somehow. But this online approach, I think that we cannot avoid it anyhow, and we need to follow this way. Otherwise, we will be like out of the situation. We cannot say that I don't believe in internet because I cannot see Wi-Fi, right? So we need to we need to be aware. And also, I think that we, we are supporting with digitalization the interdisciplinary approach of the and new field, so to say. Recently, like just last week, I've been to Sweden, University of Malmo, which has one of the best infrastructure, I would say, and they're really proud of it. And we've been talking to IT department, who has a special division to help professors to modify their courses. And they know education and pedagogy, they know assessment methods, they know the quality assurance, external and internal one, they know the market demands, and also they're creating frameworks to support professors. And after that, they're like digitalizing all the content. And this is also like some kind of niche which we need to develop and fill, because you cannot teach all skills to all professors because they have their like strengths. But as for the support, I would not name it weaknesses. As for support, we institution, like holistically or institution-wise, we could provide this kind of support. And that's what we need to think about it, because you cannot say to the very like high-ranked professor, so to say, okay, come and digitalize your sources. They need assistantship, and they need like extra technical support as well.
Yeah, and also I think it is very important to be in contact with associations that work on digital education, and at the European level we have many and very good ones. We have the Digital Education Hub and so on, to see best practices, because we cannot be inventing everything. So it's just by listening and you know that suddenly someone says, well, that would be that. In my university, we also, when we started with the European higher education area, the transformation, we put in place the idea of innovation groups, of innovation networks within the university. So groups of teachers that were implementing new things, and every year they have a project and they do research on that. They share their experience. So it's like trying to create this culture of innovation within the institution. That is not easy, but it's just a step by step. It's not something that happens just like that. But I think that too often to go to some international conferences, maybe where these things are being talked and you know, to listen to and to read, because now we get access to many things that are many resources that explain how they are doing things in their subjects and so on. That's independently on the institutional strategy, because this is something that, you know, at the top they have to think about in the strategy. Okay, very interesting. So I think we have just like 10-15 minutes for explaining the methodology. If you want to say something else, if not, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you are going to find in the Google Classroom. You know that Google Classroom is not the best place, maybe for the seminar, but I mean, this is not a real platform for online courses, because in platforms such as Moodle, or everyone more or less knows Moodle, you have many more things that can be done and so on. So this is just a very simple and it's a way of having the materials and so on during these 3 weeks we are going to be online, right? So I'm going to share the other presentation. So, well, you will find all this in the classroom, in the Google Classroom, once you go there. And of course, I think you already know the general objective of exploring how this digital education thing can promote really inclusiveness and lifelong learning. And you will see some showcases of my university is the one we can talk better about. And you are going to visit us, so you will find many presentations of UNED. And these things we have talking about today about how to remove these barriers, advance equity, and facilitating this continuous skill development. So we are going to talk also how to reach and how we do to reach different type of students, these non-traditional learners. I'm not going in detail to the learning objectives. You can find them there, and this is how it looks when you go to the PRODIGE. You're going to first find this banner. You have this class code. I think you will manage to get into, and you know that we have these dates from today until April 11th, 15 hours, and this is the link to the classroom, but I think you already had that. And you will find that it is divided into like 4 distinct models, in which we are going first to talk about this supporting inclusiveness and diversity in different types of problems and solutions, like students in remote areas, and how we technologically give and support them. And I mean, it's a very unique thing, but maybe you can grasp ideas that might be useful for on-site universities. This taking the possibility of having other local possibilities around the country and things like that combined with online. So how to get all the students involved in our country, this is something very specific, because the government gave many years ago the possibility of letting students that didn't finish their secondary school going through a year course, is the access course, when they have over 25 years old, and then pass an exam and then enter into the university. And this is something that UNED has been doing for many years, and many of our students enter the university this way. I mean, they in the past they were maybe 30 years old, they haven't finished the secondary school, they did this access course, they pass the exam and then enter the university. So this is something, of course, that the government of Spain approved for everyone, I mean, every university. We are going to talk about students with disabilities, migrants and refugees, so all these non-traditional learners. Then we are going to talk about develop personalized learning pathways with this thing of the new artificial intelligence, learning analytics, and adaptive learning issues. Then micro-credentials and innovative forms of lifelong learning, and of course open education. So these are like 3 main areas for personalization. Then we are going to talk about how we give support to the academic community, in the sense of how we need to train our teachers and our students for becoming digital in digital learning and teaching environments. Special technologies, we need to make our resources and the platforms accessible. That's one of the things, thinking about people with disabilities, and this also this thing of universal design. And finally, 2 things more institutional, like internationalization, how we develop this under this new conception of mobility, like virtual mobility and collaborative online learning between virtual exchanges and so on, and the institutional policies that are required for inclusive higher education. But let me see that this seems to be a lot. But what we have thought in the methodology is we will have this synchronization, the first one and the closing one. Then you will have all the materials. You have videos for all these topics. Some of them are the main one, and then complementary resources such as other videos or links to some readings or documents or web pages. But the real work to be done here is to elaborate first individually with your contribution, but really under an institutional teamwork, what we call an institutional SWOT. And so this is the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats regarding the different topics we're going to work. You will have a template for that in the online course, and then maybe just in the end of the second in the second week, we are going to offer like also a synchronous session, voluntary, to talk to some of the experts that have participated in these materials, in these videos from UNED, to solve doubts, to do something very similar to what we have done here, but with the different experts of the different issues and topics, because I'm not expert in everything. And the interaction will be through the forum. But just let me explain a little bit about this slot. The idea, because there are a lot of materials, is not just that you watch as an individual, as a person, everything, but that you would need to constitute this group, this teamwork within your institution, and to meet online or on-site. It's up to you, and distribute the watching of the videos depending on the profile. So depending on the interest and expertise and the role in your institution, just trying to distribute the topics, so then you can discuss all together and fill this plot. And the goal is this: so you will have the strengths, the weakness, you have it in place, and you can discuss during the also during the session that we will have together. And in the end, in the final presentation, the final webinar, we would ask you to for each institution to present like a 5 minutes, 6 minutes of summary of conclusions about their current stage or the things they are much more interested in regarding all these topics. So in the course, you are going to find well, this is the structure. You will see things like that for each model. So you can open by to unfold these 3 dots, and you will find the materials there and the links to the webinars. And well, when it's unfolded, you will see something like that: an introduction with a summary and the link to the video or to other resources. This is another to finance leaders, please. You can also talk to me. So these are more or less all the topics that I think we are going to, you know, to have the opportunity to listen about and to watch the videos. But I would ask you to indicate, you can mark the 3 areas of intervention through Blended or online education that you think that would be interesting for your institution. You can see here students in a small village, or to reach adult students or students with disabilities. So what do you think of all these topics that could be the 3 more interesting for your institution, in the sense of becoming more inclusive and to open your doors to more students through digital and through online or blended solutions? So please, if you can answer that, it would be great just to see more or less what your interests are.
I could comment on it from TSU perspective, probably, that I do agree with all these topics, and they're really important and crucial for further development. But we need to set institutionally priorities, because we all have like lack of resources, and it's better to start from like little things to be finalized for sure. And the issues with migrants, refugees, and other minorities are really, really important in our case as well. And also students with disabilities. But as I said, we do not have like a consolidated data. However, the improvement of qualification, or improvement of teaching and learning materials, or improvement of the infrastructure, and adapting the learning supported by AI. This is like on top priorities, I think, in all institutions.
Yeah, so that's important because when you think and reflect with the SWOT, you will see that you will have a document with questions for every topic of this, just to give you some ideas on how to reflect on your current state and of your institution and so on. You don't need to give answer to everything. It's just the thing is, well, as you have mentioned now, which are the priorities for our own institution and which are the things we consider now at this moment relevant, and how are we going to start working, or we could start working with that. So yeah, that's an exercise, as I say, as a teamwork with the different roles that your members, the members of the team, will have, and just a way of starting to think in a roadmap, right? So I'm going to show you now, students. Well, that's something interesting, because in this way you will find some information in about that in the course, of course, on videos, and in videos are about our local centers. But this is something also interesting when you come here to Madrid and to discuss about. I think, well, this is interesting to me to see which are your preferences. So in this sense, we can also, as I say, when you come to Madrid, you will visit two centers. We are intending to take you to visit a local center in Madrid and also outside Madrid. But also think that you don't need to have a local center around the country, or local centers, to give support to in remote places. It could be just online. So we can discuss about these things during the course, I think, and when you come here and all along the project. I think it's interesting. And the second place is, as I said, it's interesting that within your team, there might be different profiles. Understanding and being expert, or having different roles at your own institution, so you can distribute the work. So you can give, if there is someone that is more technological, the more technological videos, for instance, or if there is someone more related to pedagogy, so there are other videos. So you can, or someone that is manager, is more in a high level management. So, well, different kinds of roles. So try to distribute the contents and try to distribute them. The possibilities to extract the more information possible, because someone is not going to be, it's not possible to watch all the videos. It's much more than 15 hours. But if you distribute, that would be okay. So could you please, if you have a little bit, we are not going in, we are almost finished. So it was just to have an approach, an idea of different profiles that you have. I'm going to put this just to start putting some more of you. Most of you are academics, I see. It would be interesting if you find someone from the technological department, right? Because there are things that you need to have someone from the technological area field to to combine with the perspective of the academics, and that would be interesting. Well, okay. So yeah, I mean I see the majority still as pedagogical. So yeah, if you find someone from technologies in your group, that would be great. You see there also you have internationalization that might be of interest, but this combination of pedagogy, management, and technology, I think it's important. Okay, so I think we managed to more or less 1 hour and a half. I hope that, well, we will be around during these 3 weeks. If you have, you know, that in each of the topics, there is the possibility of sending some question or doubts or whatever. I hope to have some of my colleagues that have recorded the videos with us in this coaching, let's say, session, just to, yes, this dialogue, I think is interesting. And well, that's it for today. Thank you very much. It's been, I think, interesting to listen to all of you.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.
We
Thank you.
Thank you.
appreciate your
Thank you.
excellent
And
presentation.
thank you, Katerina, also for your support.
Thank you very much.
And see you. Bye.
See you. Have a
Bye.
nice evening. Ángeles.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye.
evening.